Hello, classmates and Dr. Sanchez. My name is Leslie Carrillo, and today my presentation is on using online learning and informal training to improve job satisfaction and increase retention of millennials. Overview. Millennials. Who are they? What is online learning? What is informal training? What is job satisfaction and why is it important? Literature review. Limitations of studies, suggestions, conclusions, and finally, recommendations. Employees need to be seen as more than just workers. The younger generation is growing up in different times than others that currently make up the workforce. Millennials are getting jobs, and companies will need to adjust methods of keeping them working. Job satisfaction for millennials is focused on work life balance. Training can be used to motivate and retain employees if focused on more than just job performance. Millennials are looking for advancement, knowledge, and more income. Online learning and informal training give millennials options and promotes job satisfaction, which can lead to employees staying in their jobs. Millennials will eventually make up majority of the workforce, and by conducting more research, surveys, questionnaires, and evaluations of training methods, it can be determined if millennials are in fact staying in their jobs longer and are satisfied. Also, by conducting studies that include different generations at different ages, different jobs, that all can be done and will help in get information on job satisfaction and well-being in the workplace. Millennials, generally defined as people born between 1980 to late 1990s. Millennials will soon account for over 50% of the US workforce. This generation has been exposed to educational, economic, social, and political contexts different from previous generations. Good work life balance, meaningful work, sufficient attention and recognition, work relationships can contribute to the retention and loyalty of millennials. Millennials raised with plenty of feedback, individual attention, praise, guidance, and direction. Due to the way that millennials have been raised, the common stereotypes are as follows: disloyal, needy, entitled, and casual. Managers that promote relationships, meeting individual needs, development, and coaching type of leadership will be more successful to motivate and retain millennials. Millennials need to be seen as the future, and the companies need to figure out ways to keep them working. So it's very important, instead of looking at the common stereotypes as negatives, find ways to turn them into positives and use that to keep millennials in the job. What is online learning? Training delivered via the internet or web. Methods can include simulations, games, video, social network. Online learning gives the opportunity to collaborate via discussion boards, wikis, and blog. Learners can decide how they want to learn and when they want to learn. Features of online learning include content, and they can be via text, videos, graphic, and sound. Collaboration and sharing, which include communities of practice, peers, other trainees, experts, mentors, and advisors. Links to resources, which includes other training material and web training. Link to electronic performance support systems. Learner control. This allows for practice, self-pacing, feedback, content, and accessibility. Delivery method include internet and intranet, web, distance learning, and CD-ROM. Administration, which can include enrollment, monitoring, progress, and assessment. Advantages of online learning include supporting business strategies and objectives, accessible anytime and any place. Audience can include employees, managers, vendors, customers, and clients. Training can be delivered to anyone in the world. Training can be delivered faster to more employees in a shorter time. Updating is easy. Practice, feedback, objectives, assessment. Other features can be incorporated into programs, and learning is enhanced by using multimedia and interaction with trainee. Paperwork can be eliminated. Link learners to other content, experts, and peers. Effectiveness of online learning include e-learning as an effective in outcomes, knowledge, skills, and behaviors. Needs assessment include manager support of online learning. Without manager support, there will be no benefit of online learning. A positive learning environment is important to retain material. Learner control, it gives the trainee options, practice, and prompting self-regulation. Provide time and space for online learning. Companies cannot expect employees to use breaks to finish training or rush them to finish training so they can get back to work. Social media allows for creation and exchange of user-generated content. What is informal training? Learning should be fun. Informal training or informal learning refers to learning that is initiated by the learner, involves action and doing, intent is to develop. And finally, it does not include a formal learning setting. Informal learning is very important to millennials. Millennials want knowledge. They want career opportunities. They want it to be meaningful and fun. I think informal learning is very important in the future of training in regards to millennials. Informal learning occurs face to face, as needed, via email, informal mentoring, company developed or approved, social networks, no trainer, and mostly controlled by the employee. What is job satisfaction and why is it important? Job satisfaction is different to each employee. In regards to training, you can use the following questions to ask learners what is important to them. You can use the following questions at the end of training, at the beginning. Using the questions can allow for trainers to find out what is important to each individual, and it could help develop future trainings. The following questions are: what motivates and inspires you? What times in your life and in your career have you been most engaged and passionate? How do you want to contribute and make a difference? What values are you living and fulfilling every day? If managers only cared. McNamara used CARE, CARE. Create, communicate, implement a vision. Ask questions and listen. Respect and value others. Encourage and support growth and development. McNamara used a quote from Gandhi: be the change that you wish to see in the world. Now to go over the literature review and the research and studies. beyond the individual and the classroom. This was a research conducted um, 2000 and present. It included 4 research themes. Training criteria helps with understanding training effectiveness. Factors that influence criteria include training characteristics, training design, training content. Training criteria is learning seen through changes in knowledge, skills, attitude, and behaviors. Individual learning is measured by cognitive, skill, and effective outcomes. Transfer learning is focused on a single task, but later has broadened when companies started to focus on job performance. Effects of training, job performance, work attitudes, and transfer outcomes are changed. Training characteristics, capabilities, personal traits, motivational constructs, values and interests, attitudes and emotions, and perceptions can enhance training success according to studies. Training design, prior training occurred only on the job, so not a lot of research on delivery, which has now shifted to ensure strategies to learning and transfer. Present and future focus of training are active learning, technology based learning, and team training. Training context influences to training effectiveness. Supervisor and peer support, amount of time and opportunities learners have to use skills and challenges they face at work. Organizational policies and practices, organizational climate and culture where they work, previous work and training. Prior to 1980s, few studies considered how work environment affected effectiveness of training. What do people want from work? Individual centric framework or IFC use 5 categories: compensation, enjoyment, interest to include balance, career opportunity, and recognition. Research has shown emotions matter a lot at work. Happiness is important. To be fully engaged, people need vision, meaning, purpose, and resonant relationships. 99% of millennials consider compensation important to 81% consider very or extremely important and top of the list for any age group. 64% of millennials would rather make less for a job they love versus more in a job they found boring. Enjoyment. People join an organization and leave a boss. Interesting and balanced. More organizations are using purpose to motivate and fulfill employees. Millennials expect flexibility. Career opportunity. 75% of millennials see positions as an opportunity to develop expertise, leadership, and demonstrate abilities as a leader. Recognition. People want to be formally and informally recognized for hard work, usually in form of pay or attention and time from supervisor. A 2015 survey had the following stats. 84% of companies use social media to recruit. 82% of companies are using social media to attract people that are not actively looking for a new job. 36% of companies disqualify candidates from what they saw on social media. 39% allowed candidates to explain concerning information from social media. Regardless of whether it is through social media or face to face, companies cannot use any information to discriminate. This is going to be very important for millennials to pay attention to. Millennials use social media, they use it to look for work, but at the same time, they have to take in consideration that it can be used against them. They have to make sure that what they post, if it's public, that it is something that they would want an employer to see. Not only that, but companies need to take into consideration now that other companies will try to take their employees away if they can. Nowadays, people see social media as a way to interact for many different reasons. And with this 2015 survey, it shows that employers are starting to realize that there are many ways to find employees that are well suited for their job, for their companies. The following study was done focusing on Finnish managers. It was a three-wave, 10-year longitudinal study on development of employee well-being examined in detail. 402 participants, 95% were men. 24 to 59 years old, 98 had permanent contracts or they were permanently part of the company. Data was collected in 1996, 1999, and 2006. Previous studies were done in short term follow ups and were focused on negative indicators. The focus of this study was well being over time, employees' transition across well being profiles, association between job resources and well being profiles, and between job resources and transition between profiles. The results were well being typically remains at the same high level over time. Development of favorable job related affective well being was 8 times more probable than that of unfavorable development. Last was job resources are essential factor in the generation of high levels of employee well being. Limitations of studies. Samples selected for purpose of answering study questions could be biased in a more positive direction. Also, the fact that it was managers and it didn't include lower level employees could be a factor as to how it is biased in a more positive direction. Another limitation of studies are few studies about job satisfaction and well-being have not been done. Training and development mostly focus on job performance. Even though there is research on what people want at work, companies have just started to pay attention. And as millennials become a bigger presence in the workforce, companies will have to develop strategies to keep them working. Few regulations on companies using social media to recruit and disqualify, which will need to be considered and addressed in the future. Suggestions. Development and career management to include ways to motivate, encourage, and recognize employees. Adding culture and diversity training. Adding social media to trainings to focus on employee well-being and development. Work-life balance training topics. For example, monthly emails to remind employees to take care of themselves. Tips, resources. This will increase job satisfaction. Use generational differences to motivate younger generations to learn and develop skills. Mentor, peer-to-peer interactions. Use the differences as a positive. Managers are key and they need to be aware of that. A bad manager will cost employees. Conclusion. Generational differences affect the views and priorities in the workforce, but they don't have to be negative. They can be used in a positive way. Organizations need to strategize how work life balance of employees will affect retention in the future as millennials take over. They need to incorporate informal training and more technology based training so that millennials that are tech savvy will remain interested and enjoy the trainings. Companies need to increase needs assessment and evaluation in training to become aware of employees' levels of job satisfaction and adjust with the findings. Using traditional face to face, on the job training to focus on skills, job performance, knowledge. Traditional training should not go away because more millennials are coming into the workforce. There just needs to be different ways of training to include using technology based training like social media, blogs, collaboration to focus on development, job satisfaction, and employee morale. Recommendations: promote slides are my references. Interaction between employees, peers, manager to employee, employee of different generations. Promote a work life balance. Increase resources for employees to encourage a healthy lifestyle, family life, mental stability. Training does not have to just be about work. Training could be a team building activity. It could include sending an employee to do something different that they're interested in. It doesn't just have to be about work. Use social media to encourage employees to stay motivated, make connection, and develop goals. Keep employees involved. Use informal learning and online learning as a decrease in formal training will be desired by the tech savvy millennials. Research needs to include different types of employees of all ages, all job types, at different times to get more information on job satisfaction. Studies are not conducted to focus on well being or job satisfaction. Their focus is job performance, skills, knowledge. As millennials come into the workforce, there's going to be a shift in the type of studies and research that are conducted because companies are going to start seeing a lot of millennials switching jobs more frequently. They're going to see the older generation retire and they are going to see an increase in demand for different type of training, different type of management, and it is very important to take everything into consideration in order to retain millennials and keep them satisfied in the workforce. Thank you for your time. The following